I've got a story that'll make your blood boil and your heart ache. It's about love, betrayal, and the poison of ambition. I'm Paul Harding, and I'm the villain of this tale. Or at least, I was. Settle in, folks, because this journey into the dark heart of Hollywood isn't for the faint of heart. Picture this. A young, talented black filmmaker named Isaiah, his eyes blazing with passion, and Rachel, a brilliant white producer, her smile lighting up every room. They were the perfect team, destined for greatness. And I was the snake in their Garden of Eden, the wolf in sheep's clothing, ready to tear their dreams apart. You might wonder why you should listen to a man who nearly destroyed 2 lives and a masterpiece. Well, stick around. This story's got more twists than a Hollywood thriller, and an ending that'll leave you questioning everything you believe about redemption. From the moment I laid eyes on Isaiah and Rachel, I knew they were trouble. Not because they lacked talent, oh no, they had that in spades. It was the way they looked at each other, finished each other's sentences. That kind of connection? It's box office poison. In this cutthroat industry, romance is a liability, and I wasn't about to let some starry-eyed lovebirds jeopardize my bottom line. I remember the day they pitched their project to me like it was yesterday. The conference room felt electric with their enthusiasm. Isaiah's voice trembled with excitement as he described his vision, a raw, honest exploration of human connection. Rachel sat beside him, her eyes never leaving his face, drinking in every word. "It's going to change lives, Mr. Harding," Isaiah said, his voice full of hope. "People will see themselves in these characters, feel less alone." I plastered on my best fatherly smile and said, "That's all well and good, son, but will it sell tickets?" The light in their eyes dimmed a little, but they didn't give up. Oh no, these two were fighters. If only I'd seen then what I see now. Instead, I saw a threat to my vision, to my control, to my bottom line. So I did what I do best. I schemed. I plotted. I became the wedge that would drive them apart. It started small. A snide comment here, a budget cut there. I'd pull Rachel aside after meetings, whisper doubts in her ear about Isaiah's experience. "You know, Rachel," I'd say, my voice low and conspiratorial, "Isaiah's got talent, no doubt. But he's green. Are you sure he can handle a project of this scale?" Then I'd corner Isaiah, suggest that Rachel was holding him back. "You know, Isaiah," I'd say, my voice dripping with false concern, "Rachel's a great producer, but she's playing it safe. You need someone who'll take risks for your vision. Someone who understands the business." The worst part, I enjoyed it, watching them doubt each other, seeing the cracks form in their perfect partnership. It was like a drug. Every furrowed brow, every tense silence, every forced smile was a victory. I was the puppet master, and they were dancing to my tune, but I underestimated them. Every obstacle I threw in their way, they overcame. Every seed of doubt I planted, they uprooted with their trust in each other. It was beautiful, really, and it made me sick. I remember one particularly heated meeting. I just announced another round of budget cuts, and the room was thick with tension. Isaiah and Rachel exchanged a look, just a quick glance, really. But in that moment, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. Unity, understanding, love. That's when I knew I had to escalate. I slashed their budget to the bone, forced them to cut corners. I told myself it was just business, that I was teaching them a valuable lesson about Hollywood. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wanted to break them. I started spreading rumors, whispers about Isaiah's difficult behavior on set, insinuations about Rachel's questionable decision-making. I was poisoning the well, turning the crew against them, bit by bit. And then it happened, the accident. I wasn't there, but I might as well have been holding the faulty equipment myself. It was a stunt gone wrong, a scene that should have been simple, safe. But with the corners I'd forced them to cut, with the tension I'd created on set, disaster was inevitable. I'll never forget the phone call, the panicked voice of the assistant director, the words that would haunt me for years to come. Rachel's hurt. It's bad, Paul. Really bad. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. In that moment, all my schemes, all my petty jealousies, they all came crashing down around me. What had I done? I rushed to the hospital, my mind a whirlwind of guilt and fear. The waiting room was a sea of shell-shocked faces, crew members cast, all waiting for news. And there, in the center of it all, was Isaiah. I'll never forget his face when he saw me, the fury in his eyes, the anguish etched into every line of his face. He looked at me like I was a monster, and he was right. Are you happy now? He spat, his voice raw with pain. Is this what you wanted? In that moment, the full weight of what I'd done came crashing down on me. I'd been so focused on winning, on being right, that I'd lost sight of what really mattered. These weren't just pawns in my game. They were people. People I'd hurt. People whose lives I'd nearly destroyed. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, press conferences, and sleepless nights. My reputation was in tatters, my career hanging by a thread. But none of that mattered. All I could think about was Rachel fighting for her life, and Isaiah, alone and broken, trying to pick up the pieces of their shattered dream. I tried to help, to make amends, but my every effort was met with cold stares and turned backs. The industry I'd once ruled now shunned me. I was a pariah, and rightly so. And then, just when I thought all was lost, Isaiah did something I never expected. He came to me, not with anger or accusations, but with an olive branch. I was sitting in my office, or what was left of it, surrounded by the detritus of my crumbling empire, when he walked in. He looked older, worn down by worry and lack of sleep, but there was a fire in his eyes that I recognized. The same fire I'd seen that first day, when he pitched his dream to me. We need to finish this film, he said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion in his eyes. For Rachel, for the story we set out to tell. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything I'd done, he was offering me a chance at redemption. I didn't deserve it. I knew that. But I also knew I couldn't waste this opportunity. Why? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why would you give me another chance? Isaiah was quiet for a long moment, his gaze boring into me. When he spoke, his words cut straight to my soul. Because this film is about connection, about finding humanity in the most unexpected places, he said. If I turn my back on you now, I'd be betraying everything we've been fighting for. From that moment on, I dedicated every ounce of my being to making things right. I threw all my resources behind the project, called in every favor, moved heaven and earth to bring Isaiah's vision to life. And slowly, painfully, something beautiful began to emerge from the ashes of my cruelty. We worked around the clock, pouring our hearts and souls into every frame. I watched in awe as Isaiah brought his characters to life, infusing them with a depth and humanity that took my breath away. This wasn't just a movie. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As we worked, Rachel began to recover. Her road was long and hard, filled with setbacks and small victories. I watched from a distance as she and Isaiah grew closer, their bond strengthened by the trials they'd faced. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years: shame. Deep, gut-wrenching shame for what I'd tried to do to them. There were moments of doubt, of course. Days when the task seemed impossible, when the weight of what I'd done threatened to crush us all. But Isaiah never wavered. His determination, his unwavering belief in the power of his story, carried us through the darkest times. I remember one night, late in the editing process. We'd been working for hours, trying to crack a particularly difficult scene. Isaiah was slumped in his chair, exhaustion written in every line of his body. I was about to suggest we call it a night, when he suddenly sat up, his eyes alight with inspiration. "I've got it," he said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "We need to show the connection, the moment when everything changes." As I watched him work, I felt a lump form in my throat. This was what I'd almost destroyed, this passion, this raw talent. And for what? My own petty insecurities? The day the film premiered, I stood in the back of the theater, my heart pounding. As the lights dimmed and the first images flickered across the screen, I held my breath. This was it, the moment of truth. What unfolded over the next 2 hours was nothing short of magic. Isaiah's vision, brought to life with Rachel's unwavering support, was more powerful than I could have ever imagined. It was a story of love, loss, and the unbreakable bonds that connect us all. As the credits rolled and the audience rose in a standing ovation, I saw Isaiah and Rachel embrace, tears streaming down their faces. In that moment, I realized that despite my best efforts, love had won. Their love for each other, their love for their art, had triumphed over my bitterness and greed. I'd like to say that was the end of it, that we all lived happily ever after. But life isn't a fairy tale, and redemption isn't a destination. It's a journey, one I'm still on. These days, I'm trying to do better. I've started a program to support young, diverse filmmakers, hoping to nurture the kind of talent and passion I once tried to destroy. I'm learning to listen more and scheme less, to see people as human beings rather than pawns in some grand game. And every time I see Isaiah and Rachel, now Hollywood's golden couple, I'm reminded of the man I used to be and the man I'm trying to become. The road ahead is long, and there are days when the weight of my past threatens to drag me down. But then I think of the story we told, of the connections we forged, and I find the strength to keep going. Do I deserve forgiveness? Probably not. The scars I left run deep, and there are some wounds that never fully heal. But Isaiah and Rachel's story taught me that sometimes we get second chances we don't deserve, and it's up to us to make the most of them. So there you have it, the story of how my cruelty nearly destroyed 2 lives in a masterpiece, and how their love and integrity saved us all. It's not a happy ending, not really, but it's an honest one. And in the end, isn't that what great stories are all about? As I sit here, looking back on it all, I'm reminded of a line from Isaiah's film. "We're all connected," the character says, "bound by invisible threads of love, pain, and hope." It's a truth I learned the hard way, but one I'll carry with me for the rest of my days. And who knows, maybe someday, those threads will weave us all back together again. But wait, there's more. We've got a special treat for you. Ever wondered what other villains have to say for themselves? Well, we've put together an exclusive playlist full of stories just like this one, all told from the perspective of the so-called bad guys. Trust me, these tales will make you question everything you thought you knew about heroes and villains.